topic is called A Deep Dive into Entrepreneurship. And there's a little bit of history to what we're going to do today. So, and a couple of you were on this call. 4 or 5 years ago, a number of us were in Zimbabwe, and we were asked to look at growth sectors and employment opportunities for youth. And at the time, there were some real economic troubles in the country, and we were sort of told, you know, you might not find a lot of economic growth. But we did, and we called it pockets of growth. You know, we might not find a whole sector that was thriving, but within a sector, we would find companies that were thriving. And what we especially found was a lot of resilience and a lot of innovative new business models, some things that we hadn't seen elsewhere. And so this experience really opened our minds, and it changed a little bit how we think about entrepreneurship. And we came up with this framework that I'm going to show you briefly before we introduce our speakers. Go ahead, Agustina, if you want to share it. So the idea was, you know, so go ahead and make it, yeah, like yeah, there you go. So if you look sort of, you know, we all have an image of a sort of a Bill Gates, you know, or maybe now we think about Google or Uber, you know, we think about these sort of unicorn giant companies and successful entrepreneurs that are global. And yet, you know, we do have this image of them sort of starting out in their garage and struggling, but it's not always clear how they got to where they got and what the adaptations were that the actual company or the business model made, and then also what that sort of the personal learning. We hear a lot about, you know, the personal journey of an entrepreneur, and, you know, what does that really mean? So we want to talk about that today. And looking just briefly at the framework, and we'll sort of take it down when we have our entrepreneurs speak, and then we'll put it back up at the end, and we can edit it live if people have comments or they want to ask questions about it. But we plotted what we found in the field, which were different types of enterprises along 2 axes. And if you can see on the vertical axis, what we're talking about is capacity. So entrepreneurship capacity, including desire to take risks, and also including maybe some other skills or, you know, leadership attributes. These are the things people always say, you know, are entrepreneurs born or made? And that's one of the things we're looking at here, right? So there may be some capacity that affects where an enterprise is on the spectrum. There's also along the bottom, the horizontal axis, level of security. So we always talk about risk, but here we talked about security, which means that by the time you have reached success with your enterprise, there is some level of security. There's also a lot of level of security with wage salary jobs in large companies. So we have this sort of certain category over on the right. And then we have over on the left, you know, very insecure situations that people may be in involuntarily. And that begs the question, you know, does everybody really want to be an entrepreneur? Or are some people entrepreneurs, and we've all heard the term, by necessity? What we think is new about this, though, is some of the boxes in the middle, you know, this idea of a captive contractor or an independent contractor, the issues around how many clients you have, how beholden you are to your clients, what type of arrangements. We found some companies in Zimbabwe that were outsourcing their work to entrepreneurs who were hired on kind of group contracts where they would help each other comply, which reminded me, you know, back to my days in the early days of the microfinance field in Bolivia, like a solidarity loan, right? Where people would ensure that the other members of the group would repay their credit. So there were some similar arrangements that we found there. So on that note, I just want to sort of put this in your minds, and we can take it down and give the floor to our entrepreneurs. And the idea is Jennifer, who's going to speak next, is going to introduce herself. She has an incredible enterprise that I would say is actually a social enterprise, which is something that we're not sure how it fits into this framework. She's gonna make us think. And by the way, this framework is, you know, a straw man. It's free to decide that it's time to change it, or that it's relevant or that it's not relevant. But that's kind of the conversation we want to have. So on that note, Jennifer, Please accept our gratitude for being with us today, and go ahead and give us a few minutes to tell us about your experience.
Yes, sure. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Jennifer Shell. I'm from Venezuela. I live in Venezuela. I'm the CEO and founder of trabajamama.com, which is an online platform that we have a community of freelancers mothers that develop social, not service, digital services for enterprises and entrepreneurs. I founded this company. I'm a political scientist. I was living in Kenya, changing the world and working in other stuff. But when I become a mother, everything changing in my life. I give up on my professional career and start being a mom. But then after 2 years, I realized that I have to be doing something. I'm a professional, so I founded this company with a couple of friends. I put I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship because around 10 years ago, entrepreneurship was something for other people. It wasn't a material that was teaching on the university. It wasn't a theme of everybody talking about. I mean, it was only something happening around the world, but not young people included in that. So what happened, I found my company, and within the first year, we had clients from United States. My company growth really big. Right now, currently, we're more than 2,500 mothers working remotely from their homes while they're delivering digital services for 7 countries in Latin America. And we're promoting also women empowerment and women issues around the world. It's like gender equality. About being an entrepreneur, I mean, in this career or in this theme, you are not being successful is not something like you can take it for granted. It's something that you have to work day by day, and also it's like a framework of I would like to say it's like an experiment. It depends on the it's depend of the kind of soft skills that you have as an entrepreneur, also the potential that you have, the alliance that you can develop around your circle of inner friends, and also depends also on the passion that you put to everyday job. Like for me, for my company, within the first year of working, we got a prize from the Department of the States, and we went to the United States with the Young Leaders of America's Initiative, which is a program that develops and connects all entrepreneurs around Latin American countries and the Caribbeans. And also, after my company already have around 5 years, and right now what we're doing, we are growing, of course, but we also successful oriented to impact other people's and other lives. And as I said, I live in Venezuela, where it's a country where every day everything changed, from the law, from the economy, from everything. So it's a very it's a country that you must and you have to be a resilient every day, every single minute. So my invitation as an entrepreneur is that this is a type of life that you have to be goal oriented, and you have to combine all of your skills, your soft skills, your hard skills, and the passion and the things that you know. I don't believe that entrepreneurs are born. I think they're made, because I wasn't born as an entrepreneur, but I educate myself, and I in another way I put myself in contact with people and with kind of institution that really helped me a lot to grow my business. Right now, as I say, we're impacting more than 2,000 homes at Venezuela and in Latin America, and we're also including and promoting women empowerment in the economics. So that will be my part, Lara.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And as you know, we're going to come back to you and ask you a few more questions.
Feel free to ask any questions.
Yes. And Alec has just joined us. So Alec, I am going to pass it over to you as the moderator. I do have an announcement to make, which is that the second speaker that we had planned for today actually has come down with COVID and is not feeling well. And we just found this out. So we're very sorry, but it actually gives us additional time to delve a little bit deeper into the stories of Jennifer and Ben. So Alec, welcome. Alec, what I did is I did briefly present the framework, but you can ask Augustina to put it up at any time if you want to talk about it. Jennifer has just given a little bit of an overview, and your next speaker is going to be Ben, but you might want to kind of jump in and talk a bit about the framework first. So I'll hand it over to you. Thanks, Alec.
Sure, Lara, that was a very smooth pickup from the fact that I just didn't have the time change. So I thought I had 45 minutes before we were starting. So my apologies to everyone. Yeah, Augustine, maybe you could just put up that framework for a moment, and I'll talk from that, and then we'll go to Benjamin. We're really looking forward to your profile as well. So again, I'm not exactly sure what Lara may have explained about this, but it's something we came up with during an assignment in Zimbabwe, where we realized that there were a variety of types of entrepreneurs that weren't discussed very much, and people were using this, one-word entrepreneurship to cover so many different activities. And I think the key one is the one right in the center there, the captive contractors, was a category that we were vaguely aware, but you would find a number of butchers being hired for a slaughterhouse that doesn't want to hire them officially as employees. The slaughterhouse sets them up in a company of 10 and sets one of them up as the owner of that company, but they're not really running the company very much, and they only have one buyer, which is that particular slaughterhouse, a large formal sector entity. So they're completely beholden to them, and they are in charge of their accounting and their certifications and so on. Or another example also from Zimbabwe was banana growers who were being given their raw materials from the buyer, and but then when the season came and they were selling their harvest, they had to sell it at the lower price that the buyer was willing to give them and not able to go on the open market. So we thought, well, there's an interesting category of entrepreneurs in the technical definition of the term, but who certainly didn't have the independence of those that are a little bit higher on this diagram than the others. I think most of the speakers that we had lined up for today, they are in the upper right-hand corner of this diagonal, the successful entrepreneurs and secure business owners who are, of course, generating employment for others a little bit towards the bottom of this diagram, who are maybe very valuable and lots of skills, but not the risk takers, the natural entrepreneurs that you tend to find towards the top of the diagram. So I just wanted to emphasize some of those points, in part because I'm hoping that Jennifer and Benjamin and those in the participants who'd like to join in, may shed some insights into which ones of these need what kind of support. So maybe Augustine, you could just post that document in the chat room so people can look at it when they feel like it during this discussion. But now let me turn to Benjamin Wald, who has a fascinating kind of story to tell us. And Benjamin, if you could especially focus on some of the turning points for you as you got into becoming an entrepreneur. What were some of the accidents or what happened that was maybe external to you that provided key turning points in your career? Thank you, Benjamin.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for being here and for having me. So let's see, if I go all the way back to the beginning, I think I probably have followed a more traditional entrepreneurial path. And I agree with Jennifer that I think entrepreneurs are made, or successful entrepreneurs are made, because we're definitely not born with all of the skills that's required to be successful. But I also, from a very early age, feel like maybe I was a little bit born to be an entrepreneur, in that I just never could, find the enthusiasm to join the traditional workforce or be an employee ever. Since an early age, I was kind of starting little businesses, even as early as high school. And then I went to Babson College, which is a little kind of entrepreneurial focused college in Wellesley, Massachusetts. And I spent 2 years there before dropping out with my first company. And so it's just always been a part of, who I am. and I haven't been able to escape it. And like the thought of having to get a job and is just like terrifying to me. Couldn't do it. So anyways, there's an interesting dynamic there. So my quick story is went to Babson College, 2 years, dropped out, and raised, in dropping out, about $5.5 million for my first tech company, which was called NetWit. And this company, dropped out of college. We moved up to Holland, Michigan to incubate the company, where one of our investors had some open office space, and that's all it took for us to pick up and move there. I'd never been there before. That company took a whole bunch of twists and turns. The kind of first platform that we built was in theory based on an internet advertising business model, which turned out not to work. And we ended up pivoting and building an online textbook rental for college students. And that part of the business, called NetBooks, took off. In terms of external forces, we were a part of an incubator program called Innovate Here, which was focused on bringing tech companies to Main Street, Chattanooga. And so we were kind of incubated in Holland, Michigan, got started, grew to about 6 folks, and then got this offer to join this program in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which came with some grant money, in-kind legal services, some office space, whole long list of perks and benefits. And we had we knew we didn't want to go to Silicon Valley or Palo Alto and be kind of, one of many other tech companies. We wanted to do something a little bit unique. And so that's all it took to have us move the company and everybody down to Chattanooga, Tennessee. Again, another place I'd never been before. And so that was a great experience. We ended up selling that company. And then I joined Ashoka Changemakers. And this was my first experience working in a nonprofit. It's the only kind of the first and last job that I'll ever have in my life as an employee. And it was this opportunity. I didn't quite know exactly what I wanted to do next. They needed an executive director at Changemakers to lead a couple important initiatives. One of them was rebuilding the web platform. And I had some experience building software. So I got brought on board there. And the head of our global council, who has probably been one of my most influential mentors in guiding my life and providing me inspiration and direction, is Peter Goldmark. And there's a relationship with Lara Goldmark. And so I'm eternally grateful to Peter for all of his input and guidance in my life. So that's been one of the really important external factors. Moving fast forward from there, I founded Very, which is the company that is now 10 years old, that does software and hardware and data science engineering services. And so we have a little over 100 full-time software engineers, hardware engineers, data scientists. And then about 5 years ago, we launched Very Ventures, where we commercialize tools that we build for, managing over-the-air firmware updates and various kind of pieces within building client projects. So between those two, this year we'll do about 35 million. And we're kind of off to the races. That's where we are now.
Fascinating. That's very interesting. And it's I guess it's sort of something we hear so often, people dropping out. I guess it was Steve Jobs and maybe also several others who had that unexpected turn in their lives, and that brought them in other directions. How did you come into Ashoka Changemakers? What made that willingness to become an employee after having said, I really just want to be an entrepreneur?
Great question. Yeah, we had just sold, so NetBooks had just been acquired, and I didn't. It was a little bit of a crazy last chapter of that company where we launched NetBooks. It almost immediately took off, and it was probably like 11 months later we got an acquisition offer. So it was just like this tunnel vision, heads down focus. I wasn't even thinking about what I wanted to do next. So I didn't have plans. I didn't have an idea. And you kind of get to the finish line and you're like, what do I do now? And so a friend of mine had been, I guess, a part of the search committee for the executive director role at Changemakers. And they said, look, and he knows me really well. And he said, he kind of said that like, this would be good for your life, to like engage in the nonprofit sector, engage with social entrepreneurs, and kind of make that a part of your experience and understanding. And I've been able to take that in. A good portion of our client book is nonprofits and foundations now. So it's not, we do a lot of work for other for-profit companies, but a lot of the things that we're building, solar microgrids, there's data science applications for, various social ventures that we're building. So that's stayed a part of kind of, who we are today. So anyways, that was the advice of a friend who knew me well, said, take a chance and go give this a shot. And it was great. And we, I kind of like, I had in my mind what I wanted to do there, which was rebuild and relaunch changemakers.com was the main project. And so, we started that, took a whole bunch of turns, but launched successfully. And then I was able to pass the role to kind of the second in command at the time, and then move over to starting the next company. Fascinating.
So a certain amount of serendipity to that, which is again often something that we hear, and also I think a lot of young people that look at the classic stories of entrepreneurship and they think, nonprofit, that's not for me. Of course I want to make profits, so I'll stay away as far away from NGOs as I can. But it's kind of interesting to hear how a lot of the things that you learned at Ashoka, but also now you really can see that as a client group for your company. So people
Changed
have
my
to
life.
Keep an open mind to that. Yeah. So let me ask both of you a question, but I'll start with Jennifer just to keep it going back and forth. So a lot of the people who are listening to this podcast, to this chat right now, are in the business of designing or running programs that are offering, incubators, accelerators, providing loans, maybe international trips, internships, mentoring, training, technical assistance, creating networks. So it's all very, there's a huge number of tools that we can offer in principle. If you could do it all over again, so starting with you again, Jennifer, is there anything on that list I mentioned or any other type of assistance that you think really could have helped make it less painful or less risky for you that you wish you had had, a type of assistance that you wish you had had way back when?
Oh my gosh, you have to start over again. I will do exactly the same. I think what is valuable for entrepreneurs is to become or be part of this kind of opportunities, this kind of community of entrepreneurs. For me, when I applied for the Wildlife Program, the Young Leaders of America's initiative, my company only has 9 mothers. I was about like 3 months or 6 months of my company. And then after that experience, I could take my company into 7 countries at the same time. And when I came back from the United States for only 8 weeks of this exchange of this program, I could have passed from 9 mothers to 400 mothers. So it's something that is very valuable. For me, I grab every single opportunity. I mean, when I see a competition about, I don't know, accelerators or maybe joining communities, I truly believe in the bonds that you can make. And they say that entrepreneurs is a solo career, but it's not a solo career. It is a solo career because you are the chief of your company, but you can also exchange experience with other chief of other companies, And I really believe, and it's truly valuable, the kind of networking that you can do, not only because of the clients, but with the people that are passing through the same path that you're driving to. For example, for me, I did this program like 4 years ago, the Wildlife Program, and currently I'm right now the chair of the Wildlife Board, which means that I have my duty is to connect entrepreneurs around the world from Latin America and the Caribbean. And because of this position that I have right now, I could be able to take my company overseas and connecting other people from other countries. So I think it's very valuable to work in your networking, to grab every single opportunity you can have to take your company into another levels. And also because you can, competition is not only about winning. For example, here in Venezuela is very famous this Miss Venezuela beauty contest, but the one who wins is not the one who gets it all. The one who doesn't win, it has more opportunities to develop. So it's not about, it's the same thing about being an entrepreneur. It's not going to the competition to win, but it's also going to the competition to spread your network, to grow as a human being, to grow as a professional. But I truly believe, and I really think it's very valuable to join this kind of competition, not only because you want to win, but also you can how you say that, you can put yourself into account and say, oh, I can do this better. You can compare to each other, and you can, of course, get the best of it. So I do the same all over again and all over again.
So it sounds like you really had serendipity on your side. You touched one point, so let me just stick with you for a moment before going back to Ben with the same question. And that is, so you really kind of formed a network. That was part of what your activity was. But I'm also wondering if this sort of points a way that if we want to help entrepreneurs get going, we talk about all the very specific, very concrete types of assistance we'd like to give them, this training and this, loan or what have you, but also is forming networks where you can share your experiences with other starting out entrepreneurs, but also, of course, potential buyers and investors and so on. Do you see that as a valuable activity for potential entrepreneurs?
Yes, of course, because what happens when you are an entrepreneur, you are doing everything by your own way. But when you stop and start to talk with others, you can gain experience by not making the same mistakes as they did. So it's like your opportunity to go to another path. For example, for me, I wanted to, I'm in Venezuela, and the economical situation is not the best, and I have to scale my business to other countries. So I wanted to go to Chile, and I said, listen, I want to do this. I did a marketing campaign, but the same word in Spanish in Venezuela, which means something, in Chile means other thing. So in case of paying the marketing campaign and everything, I got to talk to someone that already experienced that and told me, listen, don't waste your money, do this and this and this. And those are kind of the valuable friendship that you can have inside of the entrepreneurial world, that you can learn from others by not making the same mistake that they did. And you're gaining time. At the very end, you're gaining time, you're not wasting money, and you're learning from other experience from other person, which is very valuable. I think community is something that is clue on successful. I mean, when you are starting your business, it's not only about the business model, which is very important, which is the 90% of everything, but you also have to connect with others entrepreneurs. Maybe you can develop alliance, you can develop strategies, you can do a lot of stuff around this the thing. So I think it's very valuable to learn from others' experience, and that allowed you to not make the same mistakes that they did, and to gain time, don't waste money, and get in the path of successful career as an entrepreneur.
Excellent, excellent. Well, so over to you, Ben. What if you could do it over again?
I'd do it exactly the same way. I wouldn't change anything. Same story. And I think that, would I have chosen to do it with less pain? And the answer is no. Every successful entrepreneur has to be a little bit of a masochist. You have to be willing to recognize that, like, things that are painful are growth opportunities. And I know that kind of sounds like a platitude, but you're just like, you are not born with all the skills that it takes. And you need to develop those, and you need to be honest with yourself about your shortcomings. And if you're not like extremely invested and focused in fixing those shortcomings, you keep stubbing your toe and you probably don't get to, the goals that you've got. So, I would do it all over again. In terms of assistance, I think there's two types. I think there's assistance for the person, the entrepreneur, and then there's assistance for the early stage company, the company at whatever stage. And I see them as very different branches of support. And so on the personal side, every entrepreneur has some type of personal growth journey that they're going through or they need to go through, and they need to surround themselves with people that can be brutally honest with them about where their weaknesses are, where their strengths are, the things that they're doing that are unsustainable. And, there's a lot of opportunity there to help the individual. On the company side, the thing that I see where assistance goes wrong is that when it's like, forcefully spoon-fed, or that you shove a company into a particular framework. And typically what I've experienced is the entrepreneur, if you ask them, knows the things that they're struggling with, and it's likely different. Maybe there's some like common threads, but there's likely unique challenges that they're facing. And from my experience, the biggest support that I've had is just having a network or resources to ask questions to, and like you find yourself in all kinds of weird situations. It's like, how much should we pay a CFO of the company? I don't know. You can search online, you won't get a good answer. You've got like, some spicy employee situations that you have to deal with, I mean, like,
spicy, that's a great word.
So, having people that you can reach out to and like, that's been what's incredibly valuable for me, in my life, is just like being able to ask questions, that were, challenges that we were facing.
Thank you. That's great. Well, so I in a way, it's good that Jean-Pierre can't join us because we have a little more time for Q&A, and I always hate it when Q&A gets scrunched into the last 5 minutes. So let me just repeat a question that we have from Mariluli. I can't read your last name, Paral something. So for both of the speakers, given the highs and lows that come with entrepreneurship, what's your motivating factor that keeps you going? And don't tell me it's the pain, because I know the pain's necessary, but maybe, start again with Jennifer.
My pain, no gain. But what I can say, like when you're an entrepreneur, you have to involve your purpose in life, which the company that you have. If your purpose is going, for me, for example, for me, I'm always have been passionate about gender equality and women empowerment. So what I did is combine my talent by my purpose of life, an idea of business that I can make money by doing something that I like. If you're employing yourself in something that you don't like, you're not, maybe it sounds like dumb, but you have to do something that you're really, first, you want to do it. Second, you feel great by doing it. And third, you're gaining money by doing it. So it's perfect. So I always say, when you're going to be an entrepreneur and to be resilient in that path of this solo career that you will have, you have to involve yourself in your mission of life, but also the things that make you be passionate about. So that will be my best advice. And yes, if you're passionate about gaining money, then go and get money by doing a business model that you can get the money that you like. It depends of the purpose of life and the things that you want to do it.
That's a beautiful answer. I don't know how I could add to it. But before we pop over to Ben, I just want to see if Lara has any last word before I see she's just about to head out the door. I know you have to leave us early. Any final comments or questions for our panel?
Thanks, Alec. I just wanted to make sure that you guys get to it. So I think Agustina has it ready after you do the next round. Nancy Taggart posted a different framework, and it's something that you had showed me when we were prepping for this session that has the different levels of types of enterprises. So I'll just let Agustina post it, and you can mention some of the conversation we had about it. So on that note, thanks. I'll be gone in a few minutes, but Jack is here to also wrap up with you. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So back to you, Ben. Anything to add to the idea that you need to tie into your passion and find and follow your purpose, and then you'll have all the motivation you need?
Yeah, there's that is the answer. You have to align with your purpose and your passion. For me, I also have a vision for how technology can transform the world. And what motivates me is as we build pieces of technology, software, hardware, IoT devices, microgrids, that we kind of like lift open the hood and we see parts of the infrastructure in technology that need to be improved. And so a huge part of the motivation for me is then being able to like take shots and actually improve that infrastructure and make real change happen. And then the thing that keeps me going and sustains me is kind of the fabric that holds it all together. And for me, that's the culture that we built at the company. And so like, that's the thing where I wake up in the morning and, I jump on Slack and I, look at, what people are posting in the fitness challenge channel or the doggies channel, or, like the culture that we've built at the company is what allows me to kind of, sustain high levels of energy. So that's where I'd leave it.
Ah, wonderful. Okay. So your passion, I mean, Jennifer was saying, follow your passion. Your passion is make the change happen. And it sounds like as an extension of that, if you can build a culture in your company that can do that, then you can feel very, that you've really accomplished something because they're going to be able to do it with and without you.
Yep. Wonderful.
Good. So I see a lot of questions in here about the framework that we posted. But let's, Augustina, if you have the one, I've also just put it up on the chat, but if you can put it up on the screens right now, the alternative one from that earlier YouthPower report, that would be great to look at for a second. While you're finding that, it's a report called What Works in Entrepreneurship Education and Training Programs for Youth. And it was published under YouthPower in, I think, 2018. Let's see here. Yeah. In any case, the link for it is there in the chat. Yeah, December 2018. There we go. Good. So this one, if we sort of start at the bottom, we're looking at a typology of entrepreneurs from the very on the bottom. Those who are motivated by just survival, and in a way, I think I've seen this called involuntary entrepreneurship. Right? They're doing it because they really feel that they have no other choice, and so that implies a certain type of programming from USAID or World Bank or UN or whoever is the donor here, for making sure that they can take into account the level of education, the willingness to take on risk, and the various challenges faced by that particular group. Then moving up to sort of household enterprises, which we see so much. I'm working a lot with women's cooperatives producing essential oils in Tunisia. And most of them started with kind of a little stovetop distillery with maybe 5 liters at the most. And they've now graduated up to 250 liter and 500 liter, industrial strength activities. But they started with these household enterprises. So we've seen them everywhere. And again, there's a very different set of activities that we want to bring to help them become more successful. And their goals, again, also may not be high growth, but their goals may be, maintaining a sustainable income for their family. Then moving on to micro enterprises, which again is a little bit more advanced there. And then finally, I think the top 3 categories are what USAID and other agencies are really focusing on for high growth enterprises that are not just about maintaining employment, but really, providing that kind of growth. And again, the type of programming that's relevant for them is very, very different. We had a little discussion in the week prior to this panel about whether our panelists would really, how you would agree with the top right comment in this one. So this was done for YouthPower. We were talking about very young entrepreneurs and saying that that this opportunity-driven serial high growth model, well, that had relatively little relevance to USAID youth programming because they didn't see most of the, the beneficiaries in those programs as really fitting this profile. But both of you certainly fit that profile: opportunity-driven, focused on building companies and generating wealth as in addition to value. I'm wondering if you or any of the other participants in our group, have something to say about whether USAID should be paying attention to entrepreneurs like yourselves? And if so, what kind of attention should they be paying to you? Jennifer, I don't look like you got my question. I think it was kind of too long in a way. You know, in the upper right-hand corner of that diagram, it says that entrepreneurs, I think, sort of like you, are of limited relevance to USAID youth programming because you know, you don't really fit into that category. You're really a successful entrepreneur who's going to be successful no matter what USAID does in a way. Would you say that's accurate? Would you say there are some things that USAID could do that could make you more successful, and therefore, you know, people in your company or who are beneficiaries of your company more successful?
I think for starting, is successful is a very long term, which can be have a different meaning from any single person. For example, for Ben, maybe successful is culture. For me, it's empowerment, and for you, Alec, will be another thing. And for starting from that, and talking about opportunities, I'm a huge fan of believing that we create opportunities. For example, I live in Venezuela, in a country that there is a possible way to be a successful entrepreneur because of the political situation, of the economic situation, of the lack of opportunities, whatever, everything that you put, I mean,
everything's against you. Yeah.
Everything, the odds are against you. I'm talking here like crossing my fingers that the energy doesn't go and everything. But I truly believe that you are the owner of your own opportunities. If you were born in a place with lack of opportunity, you are the one who have to chase them. And regardless of the government, I'm a political scientist. I have a bachelor in political science. And regardless of the government, I truly believe in citizen diplomacy. What is citizen diplomacy? Is what the people can do with other people. Regardless of sitting by and waiting for the governments to take action, we need to take action from the society. And we have to understand that entrepreneurs are the economical muscle of each country. If the entrepreneurs doesn't exist, the economy doesn't exist either, because the big companies and I don't know, the big Procter & Gamble and these big companies needs entrepreneurs to, first of all, for news ideas. Second, to taste this product. Third, because they need a market to spread their business. And regardless of that, taking a look of that path, I think this entrepreneurial world is something that is changing every time, and it depends of each different countries, and it depends of the kind of concept that you have. But to be as successful, it will depend 90% of you and the rest of the environment. When I normally work with entrepreneurs, I deliver mentorship to them, especially for women. And when they start a business, we do a matriz. They call it FODA matriz in Spanish. With you see your strengths, your opportunities, and there are four things. Amenazas is like the things that are in the environment that really can put you on a bad place, and we have to focus on the opportunities and the things that we can do. And there are things that we cannot do and we cannot change, and what we can do to reverse those kind of things. So I believe in that.
Wonderful. Ben, any other reflections on that?
I think that was a great answer. I
really was.
I think that you know, I'm not super familiar with that particular USAID program, but I have a hard time thinking that there would be no way to support entrepreneurs in that category. And every entrepreneur needs help in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like, you know, and maybe like they want to focus on people a little bit earlier in their entrepreneurial journey. I'm not exactly sure. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Jack Omondi is with us. He's the co-chair of this community of practice. And Jack, I was going to invite you, instead of at the very end, as we had discussed before, this may be a great time to not just put in closing comments, but if you have any questions for the panelists or any comments on what's come up so far, this is a great time for you to jump in as well. Jack, I see you were on screen just a second ago, but there you are. Oh, can you put your microphone on? It looks like you're unmuted, but I couldn't hear your voice. Go ahead again. Darn, we're not hearing you. We see you and you show us unmuted, but try again.
Now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alec, and all the panelists. I think so far you have really articulated this topic, entrepreneurship, in a very, very expounded way, and we really thank you so much. I joined a bit late, but when I joined, immediately I felt motivated to be an entrepreneur. Actually, that was not my line now, but I think I'll take the risk. I know the odds are against upcoming entrepreneurs like Jennifer said, but I think going forward, I'm looking to be a great entrepreneur. So thank you so much. I think we will also interact at the end of the session. Thank you.
Great. I see an interesting chat coming along here with Nancy and Maria and Tommy. So I'm wondering if any of one of you want to jump in right now with to clue us in on what you were saying. That would be really helpful.
Well, hi, this is Nancy Taggart. Yeah, I work at USAID, and I was involved in funding the report that developed that framework. And I'll let Tommy go into more detail, but just to give some context to it, I mean, I think that that framework was developed with USAID programming for youth in particular. We definitely do fund, as Tommy mentioned, there's one DIV grant as one strategy for focusing on supporting more of the innovation entrepreneurs, but the majority of the programming that we do at the country level is focusing on the young people in those bottom 3 or 4 categories, just due to the context that we're working in and the development challenges. But I definitely take the point, and you know, that we need to support all levels to provide those opportunities for the lower skilled budding entrepreneurs, but and to create jobs for wage jobs for youth. So just to give a little context, you know, the wording may have been put in a way that was more narrow than it should have been, because we definitely do fund those, but just where we're working in Niger, rural Tanzania, you know, some of these contexts are the majority of the young people that are coming through the education system or dropping out of the education system are really at those lower levels. So we have to focus on supports that are relevant for them. But it's a good point. Now let Tommy add in. Thanks, Alec.
Well, actually, before Tommy jumps in, while we have you on the line, do you have any questions for our panelists that might, since you have had so much experience in those countries?
Well, I mean, I think the challenge that we continue to face with, and I don't necessarily have experience in all those countries myself, but I think the challenge that we continue to face is really the crux of this conversation. How do we support entrepreneurs at the higher levels to create wage jobs for all of the job seekers coming through? Because generally, we often by default say, okay, you should start your own income generation activity because there isn't a large enough wage job market to absorb them. So I do think it's about working at those higher levels, but you know, that's the challenge. And I would love us to, you know, as a group to share strategies and look at that. But for the speakers, I guess my question would be, have you had, you know, what kind of support do you need to help expand your businesses? Because that's what I don't work on directly, but my colleagues certainly do. How do we grow firms? And so I think that's the question. What's the key support that you need, not necessarily from a donor, but in the enabling environment, perhaps that can help grow your business so that you can employ others? Thanks.
We'll go in reverse order this time. Ben first, then Jennifer.
Oh man, I was hoping to go second. What help do we need at this point? Goodness, I think that it's just going to be so individual to the company and the stage that they're in. I don't think that like my answer would have much relevance if it were like generalized or spread across a lot of companies. So my first answer is that creating a dialogue with the CEO or the owner of the company and asking these questions is probably a great place to start. And there may or may not be things that you can help with. I think from my perspective, goodness, what do we need help with? I mean, like today, we're trying to hire a head of director of people at the company. So we're now at the size where like we feel it's a full-time role to have somebody specifically focused on the career paths and professional development of all of our people that are in the company, and all of the engineers and data science and designers and so on and so forth. And so we're starting to think through like what frameworks should we be employing around that. And my default answer is that the person that we hire should be qualified and should be able to lead that program. But maybe they, would want to reach out to a USAID. Anyways, long story short, I don't have a great answer. I think might be at the stage at the company where like we are pretty good at helping ourselves and solving our own problems. I will say though that my experience at Ashoka changed my life, and that exposure and that ability to work with social entrepreneurs around the world is something that has definitely materially changed the direction that our company has taken. And so to whatever extent there can be shared experiences, between organizations like USAID that have a bigger kind of grasp on, the world and, change, I think it's always a good thing.
Great. Jennifer, and then Tommy, last word, yeah.
Yes, I'm going to combine this answer with the one question that has Valerie Lorena posed on the chat, which is about Take Americas and the Wildlife and the Ashoka. I truly believe that CEOs of the company needs help into implementation. Why do I say that? Because we win the competition, they give you the money. Before the competition, they give you mentorship. But when you have the prize, you need the implementation part. I mean, you feel alone because, okay, you have the recognition, you have everything, but how to do it is the key formula of the success, because I'm not successful because I got the money of the prize. I'm successful about implementing. And I think we truly need a help of kind of help, like following up after the competition. And Valerie Lorena asked here, what is one of two things would you like to change or add to this program? The program that she mentioned is Take Americas, which I'm part of, and I'm truly grateful because I was one of the finalists last year. And Ashoka and the Wildlife, we need to add to this program implementation, the same, but also impact. And when I say impact, it's about doing something for our society. It's not because my company is about social things, it's because every single company has human beings. So it has to have an impact because we're making an impact. When we say impact, it's about not only environment, but also social. And I think every single company needs to have an impact, regardless of the theme material. I mean, for agriculture, maybe a food program, or maybe for me as a community of freelancers mom, maybe gender equality impact, and maybe for other things. I mean, we have to focus in these SDGs goals of the United Nations, because I think every single company in the world needs to have an impact actions. That's why I'm following right now the the big companies, I think, and all the companies should follow those paths that is transforming. And I forgot to answer about that question about the USAID. I mean, there is a lot of funds that the USAID have been helping a lot of enterprise, but and I'm truly grateful of all the funds that USAID have been giving away. But the clue is yes, we have to be grateful of the funds, but we have to also educate ourselves to take an advantage of that fund and to make a profit of that funds. And the tools are there, but us as an entrepreneurs needs to define which tool will be adaptable to our business. And also that's the thing that I think it is missing in every single program, is about implementation of the prize, of the winning, of everything.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Tommy, for putting your comments to Nancy's point in the chat, because I do think, I guess we're short on time here. So I'm going to pass it over. Thank the panel very much and all the participants. Pass it over to Jack to close us out.
Thank you so much, Alec, and the panelists, Jennifer and Ben, for taking your time to lead us in this wonderful discussion. I think everyone is motivated going forward. The challenges that budding entrepreneurs have, and also how we can maneuver our way up the ladder. Thank you so much for that discussion. And I want also to thank all the members that joined the meeting. That we are very, very much happy that you joined. You took your time to join this discussion. Of course, Alec and the team will proceed with this discussion in the discussion forum, communities discussion forum. So if you have not joined, or if you have any other question that you have, kindly join our communities of practice, so that you continue with this conversation. I also want to encourage everyone that the discussion has been recorded, and we will post it also in the discussion forum. So don't worry, all the very good points that were discussed here will be found in the discussion forum. Thank you so much. I think Lara has gone, so I will like to close this meeting. But I guess I know many of you will still need that we do another meeting, and I trust you will also still interact with Alec and the team. Thank you so much, Alec, and Jennifer, Ben, thank you so much. And I may now close the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great pleasure.